The wine glass in my hand felt heavier than it should have as I watched my wife Claire lean into Trevor's shoulder, her laugh echoing across our living room like broken glass. Her fingers traced the rim of her martini glass while she whispered something that made him grin like a teenager who just discovered his father's hidden magazine collection. "If you stare any harder, you might burn a hole through them," said Janelle, my colleague from the crisis management firm, appearing beside me with a knowing smirk. She'd been watching the whole pathetic display, too. I'm Nate Granger, 38 years old, and I make my living cleaning up other people's messes. Crisis PR consulting pays well when you're good at it, and my background in counterintelligence analysis makes me very good at reading between the lines. Right now, those lines were spelling out a story I didn't want to read. "Just admiring how comfortable my wife looks with her best friend," I replied, taking a long sip of wine. "It's heartwarming, really, like watching a nature documentary about mating rituals." Trevor Lynn, law firm partner extraordinaire, had been Claire's friend since college. Tall, handsome in that generic lawyer way, with perfectly styled hair and a smile that probably cost more than my car. He specialized in corporate litigation, which explained his talent for making everything sound reasonable while stabbing you in the back. Claire caught my eye from across the room and waved, her wedding ring catching the light. She looked stunning tonight in that black dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Nate, come over here," she called out, her voice honey-sweet with just a hint of challenge. Trevor was just telling us about his latest case. I walked over, Janelle trailing behind me like backup I might need. The small group included Mia, Claire's socialite friend who treated gossip like a competitive sport, and Ron, Trevor's sidekick who laughed at everything his boss said with the enthusiasm of a trained SEAL. "What's the case about?" I asked, settling into the chair across from them. Close enough to participate, far enough to observe. Trevor leaned back, his arm somehow finding its way to the back of Claire's chair. "Corporate espionage. Company thought they had their intellectual property locked down tight, but someone on the inside was feeding information to competitors. Amazing how people can betray trust when they think nobody's watching." The way he said it, looking directly at me, made my jaw clench. Claire giggled and touched his arm. "That's terrible," she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "I mean, who could do something like that to people they're supposed to care about?" "People who think they're smarter than everyone else," Trevor replied, still staring at me. "They always get caught eventually." I smiled back, the kind of smile I used when dealing with particularly stupid clients. Fascinating. And here I thought lawyers were supposed to be good at reading people. The temperature in the room dropped about 10 degrees. Mia's eyes lit up like she was watching a tennis match. Ron shifted uncomfortably, probably sensing his meal ticket was about to get challenged. "Oh, I'm very good at reading people," Trevor said, his voice smooth as silk. "For instance, I can tell when someone's feeling insecure about their relationship." Claire's hand found Trevor's arm again, and this time it stayed there. "Trevor, don't be mean," she said, but she was smiling when she said it. That's when I knew for certain. Not suspected, not worried about, but knew with the cold clarity that comes from years of intelligence work. The touching, the inside jokes, the way they moved around each other like dancers who'd practiced the routine 1,000 times. "You know what, Claire?" I said, standing up and setting my wine glass down with deliberate care. "You're right. I am feeling insecure. Silly me, thinking my wife might show her husband the same attention she shows her friends." Claire's face flushed, but not with embarrassment, with anger. "Oh, please, don't be so dramatic, Nate. If you're so jealous, you can always leave. The door will always be open." The words hung in the air like a challenge. Around us, the party continued, but our little group had gone silent. Mia looked like Christmas had come early. Ron stared at his shoes. Janelle raised an eyebrow. Trevor smiled that lawyer smile. "Claire's right, man. Maybe you need some air." I looked at my wife, really looked at her. The woman I'd married, the mother of my daughter, sitting there with another man's arm around her chair, daring me to walk away. In that moment, something inside me shifted. The hurt transformed into something colder, sharper. "You know what, Claire? You're absolutely right." I walked to the front door, grabbed my jacket from the hook, and turned back to face the room. The door will always be open. I stepped outside into the cool Boston evening and pulled the door shut behind me. The solid oak door that Claire loved so much, the one we'd picked out together when we bought this house, slammed with a sound like a gunshot. Through the window, I could see Claire's face change from smug satisfaction to dawning horror. She was already getting up, pushing past Trevor, heading for the door. But I was already walking to my car, keys in hand, feeling lighter than I had in months. My phone started buzzing before I'd even started the engine. Claire's name flashing on the screen over and over. I let it ring. The extended stay hotel room wasn't much, but it had everything I needed: a bed, a desk, and most importantly, a secure internet connection. I'd been here 3 days, and Claire had called 47 times. I'd answered exactly 0 of them. Janelle knocked on my door at 8 in the morning, carrying 2 cups of coffee and a laptop bag. "You look like hell," she said, pushing past me into the room. "Thanks. You always know just what to say." I took the coffee gratefully. Janelle worked in cyber forensics for our firm, specializing in digital investigations. If anyone could help me figure out what I was dealing with, it was her. "So," she said, settling into the desk chair and opening her laptop. "Want to tell me why you're living in a hotel instead of your own house?" I told her everything. The party, the confrontation, the way Claire and Trevor moved around each other like they shared secrets, how Claire had dared me to leave, probably expecting me to come crawling back within hours. "And you haven't been home since?" "Nope. Let her wonder for a while." I sat on the bed, watching Janelle's fingers fly across the keyboard. "But I need to know what I'm really dealing with here. Call it professional curiosity." Janelle grinned. "You want me to do some digging?" "I want you to do what you do best. Find the truth." She cracked her knuckles dramatically. "Well, lucky for you, I brought some toys. You still have access to Claire's laptop?" "Shared cloud account. She never changed the password." I pulled up the login information. "What are you looking for?" "Everything. Browser history, app data, message logs. If she's been stepping out, there'll be digital breadcrumbs." Her fingers danced across the keys. "People think they're being careful, but they always leave traces." It took her about an hour to crack into Claire's digital life. What we found made my coffee taste like acid. "Jesus, Nate." Janelle's voice was quiet, professional. "You need to see this." The dating app export showed everything. Messages going back over a year, explicit photos I definitely hadn't taken, dates that corresponded exactly with my business trips, and Trevor's name, over and over again, mixed in with at least a dozen other men. "She's been busy," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "There's more." Janelle pulled up another screen. "Look at these file access logs. My encrypted work files, client crisis management playbooks, proprietary strategies worth millions to the right buyer. All accessed from Claire's laptop, downloaded to external drives, copied to cloud storage accounts I'd never seen before. She stole my work." The words came out flat, emotionless. Inside, I felt something cold and sharp taking shape. "Not just stole. Look at these wire transfer records." Janelle had somehow accessed Claire's hidden banking accounts. $320,000 transferred from an LLC registered to... She paused, typing rapidly. "Trevor's law firm. Well, a subsidiary of it." I stared at the screen, pieces falling into place like dominoes. "She's been selling my client information to Trevor's firm. They're using it to poach accounts, undercut bids, steal business." "Corporate espionage," Janelle confirmed. "And it gets worse. Look at this." She showed me email threads between Claire and Trevor, planning their moves, discussing which clients to target next. But buried in the messages was something else. Trevor complaining about Claire getting greedy, demanding more money, threatening to expose their operation if he didn't pay up. "She's blackmailing him too," I realized. "Your wife's been running quite the operation, sleeping with him for access, stealing your work, selling it to his firm, then blackmailing him for more money on the side." Janelle sat back in her chair. "I've seen corporate espionage cases before, but this is next level." My phone buzzed. Another call from Claire. This time I answered. "Nate, thank God. Where are you? I've been worried sick." "Have you now?" I kept my voice neutral, professional. "What can I do for you, Claire?" "What can you—" "Nate, you're my husband. You walked out 3 days ago without a word. I've been calling and calling." "Yes, I noticed. 47 times, to be exact." "Come home, please. We need to talk about what happened at the party. I think there was a misunderstanding." I looked at Janelle, who was pointing at her screen and mouthing the word record. I hit the speaker button and the record function simultaneously. "What kind of misunderstanding?" "You seem to think there was something going on between Trevor and me. That's ridiculous, Nate. He's just a friend." "Just a friend." "Yes. I can't believe you'd think otherwise. I mean, I know we've been having some problems lately, but I would never—" "Claire, let me ask you something. Do you remember what you said to me at the party?" A pause. "I might have said some things I didn't mean. I was upset." "You told me I could leave. You said the door would always be open." "I didn't mean it like that. You know I didn't." I looked at the evidence spread across Janelle's laptop screen. Bank records, file transfers, explicit messages. A year of betrayal laid out in digital black and white. Actually, Claire, I think you meant it exactly like that. The question is, do you remember what I said back? Another pause, longer this time. You said the door would always be open too. That's right, and you know what? It still is, wide open. The question is, what's going to walk through it next? I hung up and turned to Janelle. How fast can you put together a forensics package? She smiled, the kind of smile that made corporate executives wake up in cold sweats. How fast do you need it? Fast enough to file a federal complaint before Claire figures out what's coming. Consider it done. The FBI field office in Boston looks exactly like you'd expect. Concrete, glass, and the kind of institutional lighting that makes everyone look guilty. I sat in a conference room with Special Agent Sarah Martinez, watching her review Janelle's forensics package with the focused intensity of a surgeon. This is thorough work, Agent Martinez said, flipping through printed emails and bank records. Your colleague knows her stuff. Janelle's the best in the business. I kept my voice steady, professional. The evidence speaks for itself. Wire fraud, conspiracy to commit corporate espionage, identity theft. She ticked off charges on her fingers. The dollar amounts definitely put this in federal territory. You said the stolen intellectual property is worth how much? Conservative estimate, $2.5 million. Those crisis management strategies took me years to develop. They're based on classified techniques from my intelligence days, adapted for corporate use. Agent Martinez made a note. And your wife had access to these files, how? Shared home network, encrypted vault with timestamp logs. She used my credentials to access client files, downloaded everything to external drives, then sold the information to her boyfriend's law firm. Trevor Lynn, partner at Morrison, Keck & Associates. That's right. They've been using my strategies to poach clients, undercut our bids, steal business. Classic corporate espionage, just with a more personal twist. She studied the wire transfer records. $320,000 is a lot of money. Apparently I'm worth more than I thought. I couldn't keep the bitterness out of my voice entirely. Agent Martinez looked up from the files. Mr. Granger, I have to ask, what's your endgame here? This investigation will destroy your wife's life. She's looking at 7 to 10 years federal prison if we can prove these charges. I thought about Claire's dare at the party. The smug look on her face when she told me I could leave. The way she'd been stealing from me for over a year while playing the loving wife. Agent Martinez, my wife made her choice when she decided to betray everything we built together. I'm just making sure there are consequences. She nodded slowly. We'll need you to maintain normal contact with both subjects while we build the case. Can you handle that? I'm a crisis management consultant. Handling difficult people is what I do. Good. We'll want to monitor their communications, track any additional financial transfers. This could take a few weeks to develop fully. How long before arrests? If the evidence holds up, 2 weeks, maybe 3. We'll want to coordinate with the State Bar Association, too. Mr. Lynn is looking at disbarment on top of criminal charges. I shook hands with Agent Martinez and walked out of the federal building feeling lighter than I had in days. The wheels were in motion. Claire wanted to play games with people's lives? Fine. Let's see how she liked playing against someone who actually knew the rules. My phone buzzed with a text from Trevor. We need to talk. Tonight, 8 p.m. Murphy's Pub, downtown. Interesting. I texted back, see you there. Murphy's Pub was the kind of place lawyers went to drink away their ethical violations. Dark wood, darker lighting, and bartenders who'd learned not to ask questions. Trevor was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with a whiskey that looked like it wasn't his first. Nate. He stood up, extending his hand like we were old friends. Thanks for coming. I shook his hand, noting the slight tremor in his fingers. You sounded urgent. What's on your mind? Claire's worried about you. We all are. Touching. I signaled the bartender for a beer. Since when is my well-being your concern? Trevor shifted in his seat. Look, I know things got heated at the party. Maybe I was out of line with some of my comments. Maybe? Okay, definitely. I was out of line. Claire's your wife, and I should have respected that. I studied his face, looking for tells. Slight perspiration, despite the cool air. Avoiding direct eye contact. Classic signs of stress. Trevor, let me ask you something. In your professional opinion, what's the statute of limitations on federal wire fraud? He nearly choked on his whiskey. What? Just curious. You know, hypothetically speaking, if someone was moving large amounts of money across state lines for illegal purposes, how long would they have to worry about prosecution? Why are you asking me this? Professional development. I deal with corporate crises all the time. Always good to understand the legal landscape. Trevor's face had gone pale. 5 years. Federal wire fraud has a 5-year statute of limitations. Interesting. And what about conspiracy charges? If multiple people were involved in the fraud? Nate, what the hell is this about? I took a long drink of my beer, savoring the moment. Just making conversation. You seem nervous, Trevor. Everything okay? I'm fine. Look, about Claire. What about her? She made a mistake at the party. She knows that. She wants to work things out. Does she now? I leaned back in the booth. And what's your interest in my marriage, Trevor? Professional or personal? He stared at me for a long moment, and I could see the exact second he realized I knew. His face went from pale to gray. It's not what you think? Really? What do I think? I don't know, but whatever Claire might have told you. Claire hasn't told me anything, Trevor. She doesn't need to. I pulled out my phone and showed him a photo Janelle had printed from Claire's dating app. Trevor and Claire in a hotel room, very much not discussing legal strategy. Interesting litigation technique, I said. Very hands-on approach. Trevor's whiskey glass hit the table harder than intended. Where did you get that? Does it matter? The question is, what are you going to do about it? What do you want? Want? I don't want anything from you, Trevor. I'm just curious how long you thought this could go on. Look, if this is about money, it's not about money. I finished my beer and stood up. It's about consequences. You and my wife decided to play games with my life. Now I'm playing back. I left him sitting there, staring at his whiskey like it might contain answers. Outside, I called Agent Martinez. He's rattled, I reported. Definitely knows something's wrong, but not sure what. Claire probably told him I found out about the affair, but not about the investigation. Good. Keep them guessing. The more paranoid they get, the more likely they are to make mistakes. What kind of mistakes? The kind that turn circumstantial evidence into slam-dunk convictions. The next morning brought news that changed everything. Janelle called me at 6 a.m., her voice tight with excitement. You need to get over here, now. What's wrong? Not wrong. Right. Very, very right. I found her at the office, surrounded by printouts and laptop screens, looking like she'd been up all night. Remember how we thought Claire was just stealing your files to help Trevor's firm? Yeah? We were thinking too small. She handed me a stack of documents. Your wife isn't just a corporate spy. She's a full-service entrepreneur.
Good call.
The papers showed a web of financial transactions that made my head spin. Claire hadn't just stolen my client information for Trevor's firm. She'd been selling it to multiple competitors, playing them against each other, driving up prices. She's been running her own intelligence brokerage, Janelle explained. Your files were just the beginning. Look at this. She showed me email threads where Claire was selling Trevor's client lists to rival firms. Internal Morrison, Keck and Associates strategy documents going to their biggest competitors. Confidential settlement information being auctioned to the highest bidder. She's been playing both sides? Both sides, all sides, every side she could find. Trevor thought he was using her to steal your information. She was using him to steal everything else. I stared at the evidence, feeling a mixture of admiration and disgust. How much money are we talking about? Conservative estimate? She's made over $800,000 in the past 18 months, and Trevor has no idea. My phone rang. Claire's number. Perfect timing, Janelle said. Answer it. Let's see how good an actress she really is. Hello, Claire. Nate, thank God. I've been so worried. Trevor said you met with him last night? We had a drink. He seemed concerned about my well-being. He is. We all are. Nate, I know things have been difficult between us lately, but running away isn't the answer. Running away? I thought I was taking your advice. You said I could leave, remember? I was upset. I said things I didn't mean. Which things? The part about leaving or the part about the door always being open? A pause. Both. Neither. Nate, I want you to come home. Do you? Or do you want something else? What's that supposed to mean? I looked at Janelle, who was recording everything. It means I'm starting to wonder what you really want from me, Claire. What you've ever wanted from me. I want my husband back. Your husband, right. The same husband you've been cheating on for over a year? Silence. Long, telling silence. Nate, I don't know what Trevor told you. Trevor didn't tell me anything. He didn't need to. Then what? Claire, let me save us both some time. I know about the affair. I know about the dating apps. I know about the hotel rooms and the explicit photos and all of it. Nate, I'm not finished. I also know about the files. Another pause, longer this time. When Claire spoke again, her voice was different, colder. What files? My work files. The ones you've been stealing and selling. I don't know what you're talking about. The encrypted client files you accessed using my credentials. The crisis management strategies you downloaded to external drives. The proprietary information you've been selling to Trevor's firm for the past year. That's ridiculous. $320,000, Claire. Wire transfers from Morrison, Keck and Associates to your hidden LLC. Should I go on? The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. How? She finally whispered. How did I find out? Or how did you think you'd get away with it? Nate, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You've been stealing from me, lying to me, and selling my work to finance your little side business. The only thing I don't understand is why you thought you could get away with it. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen, Claire? I was going to tell you, eventually. Tell me what? That you'd been stealing from me or that you'd been sleeping with Trevor? Both. Neither. It's complicated. Actually, it's pretty simple. You betrayed me in every way a person can betray someone they're supposed to love. The complicated part is what happens next. What do you mean? I looked at Janelle, who nodded. I mean, the FBI is very interested in corporate espionage cases, Claire, especially ones involving wire fraud and conspiracy charges. The phone went dead. Janelle grinned. Think she'll call Trevor? In about 30 seconds. She was right. My phone buzzed with a text from Trevor. Emergency. Meet me at the office. Now. I showed the text to Janelle. Want to take a ride? Wouldn't miss it. Morrison, Keck and Associates occupied 3 floors of a downtown high-rise, all glass and marble and the kind of expensive furniture that screamed success. Trevor met us in the lobby, his usual composure completely shattered. We need to talk, privately. He glanced at Janelle. Just us. Janelle stays. She's my technical consultant. Technical consultant for what? Corporate crisis management. You're about to have a very big crisis, Trevor. He led us to a conference room, his hands shaking as he closed the door. Claire called me. She said you know about things? I know about lots of things. Which things specifically? The files, the information sharing. Information sharing, is that what we're calling it? Trevor collapsed into a chair. It wasn't supposed to go this far. How far was it supposed to go? Just a few client lists, some strategy documents, nothing major. Nothing major? Trevor, you've been systematically stealing my proprietary work for over a year. I know. But Claire said you'd never notice. She said you had so many clients, so many files. I sat down across from him, Janelle taking notes beside me. So this was Claire's idea? At first, yes. She approached me about 6 months after things started between us. Said she could help my firm compete better. And you just went along with it? She was very persuasive. He looked up at me, his face a mask of guilt and fear. I'm sorry, Nate. I know that doesn't mean anything now, but I am. Sorry you got caught, or sorry you did it? Both. Janelle leaned forward. Trevor, how much did you pay Claire for the information? About $300,000 total. And how much additional business did Morrison Keck generate using that information? He was quiet for a long moment. Maybe $2 million, maybe more. So you paid Claire $300,000 for information that generated $2 million in new business? Yes. I pulled out my phone and showed him the same financial records I'd shown Agent Martinez. Trevor, do you recognize these transactions? He studied the screen, his face growing paler. These are Claire's accounts. That's right. Notice anything interesting about the amounts? There's more money here than I paid her. A lot more. $800,000 more. Where did the rest come from? Janelle answered. Your firm's client lists, internal strategy documents, confidential settlement information. Claire's been selling your secrets to your competitors. Trevor stared at the phone screen like it was showing him footage of his own execution. She's been playing both sides. Both sides, all sides, every side she could find, I confirmed. You thought you were using her to steal from me. She was using you to steal from everyone. Jesus Christ. Trevor put his head in his hands. Do you know what this means? It means you're screwed, Trevor. You and Claire both. The Bar Association will disbar me. The firm will sue me. I'll lose everything. Yes, you will. He looked up at me, desperation in his eyes. What do you want? Money? I can pay you back. The firm has insurance. I don't want your money, Trevor. Then what? I want justice, and I want you to understand something very clearly. I stood up, Janelle beside me. You and Claire made a choice to betray me, to steal from me, to destroy my marriage and my business for your own profit. Now you get to live with the consequences. Nate, please. The door's always open, Trevor. The question is, what's going to walk through it next? We left him sitting in that conference room, staring at the evidence of his own destruction. Outside, Janelle was practically bouncing with excitement. That was beautiful. He's going to flip on Claire so fast it'll make your head spin. Think so? I know so. He's a lawyer. He knows exactly how screwed he is, and he knows his only chance is to cooperate with the investigation. My phone rang. Agent Martinez. Mr. Granger, we just intercepted some very interesting phone calls between your wife and Mr. Lynn. I think you're going to want to hear this. The Attorney Bar Association mixer was held at the Fairmont Copley Plaza. All crystal chandeliers and marble columns and the kind of old money atmosphere that made lawyers feel important. I arrived fashionably late, wearing my best suit and a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Claire was there, of course, looking stunning in a red dress that probably cost more than most people's rent. She was working the room like the professional she was, charming potential clients and networking contacts. Trevor stood beside her, playing the role of devoted friend and colleague. They had no idea what was coming. Agent Martinez had briefed me that morning. The federal task force was ready to move. Warrants had been signed, arrest teams were in position, and the whole thing would go down in the most public way possible. Why here? I'd asked. Why not just arrest them at home? Because, Agent Martinez had smiled, sometimes the punishment needs to fit the crime. They destroyed your reputation in your professional community. Time to return the favor. I spotted Janelle across the room, nursing a wine and trying not to look too excited. She caught my eye and nodded toward the main entrance. Showtime? I made my way over to Claire and Trevor, who were holding court with a group of corporate attorneys and potential clients. Nate! Claire's voice was bright, artificial. I didn't know you were coming tonight. I wouldn't miss it. You know how much I love watching professionals at work. Trevor shifted uncomfortably. Good to see you, man. You look well. I feel great, actually. Really great. Like a weight's been lifted off my shoulders. Claire laughed, the sound sharp as breaking glass. That's wonderful, honey. I'm so glad you're feeling better. Better than I have in months. It's amazing what happens when you finally see things clearly. What do you mean? I was about to answer when the main doors opened and 6 FBI agents walked into the room, their badges clearly visible, moving with the kind of purposeful stride that made every lawyer in the place freeze. Agent Martinez led the group, her eyes scanning the crowd until she found our little gathering. Claire Granger, Trevor Lynn. The room went dead silent. Every conversation stopped. Every head turned. Yes? Claire's voice was barely a whisper. FBI. You're both under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, corporate espionage, and violation of federal computer fraud statutes. The words echoed across the marble lobby like gunshots. Claire's wineglass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the floor. Trevor took a step backward, bumping into a waiter. You have the right to remain silent, Agent Martinez continued, her voice carrying clearly across the silent room. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Claire turned to look at me, her face a mask of shock and betrayal. Nate, what's happening? Justice, I said simply. Finally. Trevor tried to run, actually tried to push through the crowd of lawyers and escape through the side entrance. It would have been pathetic if it wasn't so satisfying to watch. 2 agents caught him before he made it 10 feet, cuffing him while half the Boston legal community watched. You have the right to an attorney, Agent Martinez was saying as she cuffed Claire. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Nate, please, Claire was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. You don't understand. I can explain everything. Actually, Claire, I understand perfectly. You stole from me. You lied to me. You betrayed everything we built together. Now you get to face the consequences. The crowd of lawyers was buzzing now, phones coming out, pictures being taken. This would be front-page news in the legal journals by morning. Mr. Granger, Agent Martinez said, approaching me as her team led Claire and Trevor toward the exit. Thank you for your cooperation in this investigation. Thank you for taking it seriously. Corporate espionage cases like this send a message to the entire business community. No one is above the law. I watched as Claire and Trevor were led out in handcuffs, past the shocked faces of their colleagues and competitors. The same people who'd been laughing at their jokes and networking for their business were now pulling out phones to call their own attorneys. Janelle appeared at my elbow, grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. How does it feel? Like the door just slammed shut on the biggest mistake of my life. And opened on something better? I thought about that as we walked out of the hotel, past the crowd of reporters who'd somehow materialized in the 15 minutes since the arrests. Claire and Trevor were already gone, on their way to federal holding cells, but the story was just beginning. Maybe, I said. We'll see. The next 3 weeks were a masterclass in how quickly a life can unravel when the foundation is built on lies. I watched from the sidelines as Claire and Trevor's world collapsed in spectacular fashion. Trevor was suspended from the Bar Association pending the outcome of his criminal trial. Morrison, Keck, and Associates fired him within 24 hours of his arrest and immediately filed a civil lawsuit seeking damages for the stolen client information. His law license was suspended, his partnership dissolved, and his legal career effectively over. Claire faced federal charges that carried a potential sentence of 7 to 10 years in prison. The FBI had seized her hidden accounts, frozen her assets, and traced every wire transfer back to its source. The evidence was overwhelming, the case airtight, but the real satisfaction came from watching their alliance collapse. I was having coffee with Janelle when she showed me the latest intercepted communications between Claire and Trevor. The FBI was still monitoring their calls, and the recordings were fascinating. "Listen to this," Janelle said, hitting play on her laptop. Claire's voice strained and desperate. "You said you'd take care of this. You said you had connections." Trevor's voice, equally desperate. "I'm trying, Claire, but my connections won't return my calls anymore. I'm toxic. So what am I supposed to do? Sit here and wait for them to send me to prison? Maybe if you hadn't been stealing from my firm too, we wouldn't be in this mess. Your firm? Your firm? I made your firm. Without my information, you'd still be chasing ambulances in traffic court. And without my money, you'd still be a housewife with a shopping problem." The conversation devolved from there, each blaming the other for their predicament. It was almost sad to listen to. "They're turning on each other," Janelle observed. "Predictable. Honor among thieves only lasts as long as the stealing is profitable." My phone rang, my lawyer, David Chen, calling with an update. "Nate, I've got good news and better news. Which do you want first?" "Start with the good news. The divorce papers are finalized. Claire's assets are frozen pending the criminal trial, so she can't contest the settlement. You get the house, the retirement accounts, and full custody of Lily." "And the better news?" "Trevor's attorney just called. He wants to make a deal." "What kind of deal?" "Full cooperation with the federal investigation in exchange for a reduced sentence. He's offering to testify against Claire, provide additional evidence of her crimes, and forfeit any profits from the stolen information." I thought about that. Trevor, the smooth-talking lawyer who'd stolen my wife and my work, now begging to save his own skin by betraying his partner in crime. What's the prosecutor's position? They're interested. Trevor's testimony would make their case against Claire even stronger. And frankly, Claire was the mastermind here. Trevor was just a useful idiot. How much time is he looking at? With cooperation? Maybe 2 to 3 years. Without it? 7 to 10, same as Claire. And Claire? She's looking at the full sentence unless she can provide something even more valuable than Trevor's testimony. What could be more valuable? Names. Other law firms, other corporate executives who might have been buying stolen information. The FBI thinks this might be bigger than just your case. After I hung up, I sat in my hotel room thinking about justice and revenge and the difference between the two. Claire had destroyed our marriage, stolen my work, and betrayed everything we'd built together. Now she was facing the consequences of those choices. The hotel phone rang. The front desk. "Mr. Granger? There's a woman here to see you. Says she's your wife?" I closed my eyes. "Send her up." Claire looked terrible. The confident, polished woman who dared me to leave 3 weeks ago was gone, replaced by someone who looked like she'd been sleeping in her car. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, her makeup smeared. "Hello, Claire." "Nate, thank you for seeing me." "What do you want?" "I want to apologize for everything." "Okay, you've apologized. Anything else?" "I want to explain." "There's nothing to explain, Claire. You made your choices. Now you get to live with them." She started crying then. Not the pretty tears of a woman trying to manipulate someone, but the ugly, desperate sobs of someone who'd lost everything. I never meant for it to go this far. "How far did you mean for it to go?" "I don't know. I was angry, frustrated. You were always working, always traveling. I felt ignored. So you decided to steal my work and sell it to my competitors. It started as just a way to get back at you, to hurt you the way you were hurting me. By sleeping with Trevor. Yes. But then he offered to pay for information, and I thought it was just a little revenge, taking some of your precious work files and giving them to someone else. And the other men? The dating apps? The hotel rooms? She looked down at her hands. I was lonely, Nate. You were never here. I was working, building a business, building a life for us. You were building a life for yourself. I was just... there. I studied her face, looking for some sign of the woman I'd married, the mother of my daughter. She was still there, somewhere under the desperation and fear, but buried so deep I wasn't sure she could find her way back. What do you want from me, Claire? I want you to ask them to drop the charges. I can't do that. You could if you wanted to. You're the victim. If you don't cooperate, they can't make their case. Actually, they can. The evidence speaks for itself. Please, Nate, I'm begging you. The same way I begged you to stop flirting with Trevor at our dinner party. The same way I begged you to show me the same attention you showed other men? That's different. Is it? You told me I could leave if I didn't like it. You said the door would always be open, remember? I didn't mean it. Yes, you did. You meant every word. You wanted me gone so you could continue your little operation without interference. She was crying harder now, her whole body shaking. What about Lily? What about our daughter? What about her? She needs her mother. She needs a mother she can trust. A mother who won't steal from her family and lie about it for over a year. I'm still her mother. And you'll still be her mother when you get out of prison. Or if you're lucky, she might even forgive you by then. Claire looked up at me, her face streaked with tears and mascara. I love you, Nate. I know I made mistakes, but I love you. No, you don't. You love what I could provide for you. The lifestyle, the security, the access to information you could sell. You never loved me. That's not true. Claire, you've been stealing from me for over a year while telling me you loved me every night. If that's your definition of love, I'll pass. I walked to the door and opened it. Goodbye, Claire. Nate, please. The door's open, Claire, just like you wanted. She walked out, still crying, still begging. I closed the door behind her and sat down on the bed, feeling empty and exhausted and strangely relieved. My phone buzzed with a text from Lily, who was staying with my sister until the legal mess was sorted out. Dad, I heard Mom got arrested. Are you okay? I texted back, I'm fine, sweetheart. Everything's going to be okay. And for the first time in months, I actually believed it. 6 months later, I sat in federal court watching Claire and Trevor receive their sentences. The courtroom was packed with reporters, lawyers, and curious observers who'd followed the case through the legal blogs and business journals. Trevor went first. His cooperation with the federal investigation had earned him a reduced sentence. 3 years in federal prison, 5 years probation, and permanent disbarment from practicing law. He stood quietly as the judge read his sentence. His shoulders slumped in defeat. Claire's sentencing was more dramatic. She'd refused to cooperate with investigators, maintaining her innocence even in the face of overwhelming evidence. Her attorney had tried to paint her as a victim of Trevor's manipulation, but the jury hadn't bought it. Mrs. Granger, the judge said, his voice carrying clearly across the silent courtroom, you orchestrated a sophisticated scheme to steal proprietary business information and sell it to multiple buyers over a period of 18 months. You betrayed your husband's trust, violated federal computer fraud statutes, and engaged in conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Claire stood at the defendant's table, her back straight, her chin up. She'd lost weight during the trial, and her expensive clothes hung loose on her frame. The court sentences you to 8 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years supervised probation. You are also ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $2.7 million to the victims of your crimes. 8 years. Claire would be 44 when she got out, if she served the full sentence. Lily would be 22, graduated from college, starting her own life. I felt no satisfaction watching my wife led away in handcuffs. No sense of victory or vindication, just a hollow sadness for what we'd lost and what could have been. Outside the courthouse, reporters tried to get a statement from me, but I walked past them without comment. There was nothing left to say. Janelle was waiting by my car, holding 2 cups of coffee and wearing a satisfied smile. How do you feel? She asked. Tired? Empty? Ready to move on? Think you'll ever forgive her? I thought about that as we drove away from the courthouse. Claire had made her choices, and now she was living with the consequences. The door she'd opened for me had led to a new life, one built on honesty instead of lies. Maybe someday, for Lily's sake, if nothing else. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And Trevor? Trevor can rot in hell for all I care. Janelle laughed. There's the vindictive streak I've been waiting for. I'm only human. 6 months later, I was back in my house, the one Claire and I had bought together when we still believed in forever. Lily had moved back in with me, and we were slowly rebuilding our relationship. She was angry at her mother, confused about what had happened, but she was resilient in the way teenagers often are. The crisis management business was thriving. The publicity from the trial had actually brought in new clients, people who wanted to hire the man who'd outsmarted corporate spies and federal criminals. I'd developed new security protocols, new ways to protect proprietary information from internal threats. I was working in my home office when the doorbell rang. Through the window, I could see a delivery truck and a man with a clipboard. "Nate Granger?" "That's me." "I have a delivery for you. Sign here, please." The package was small, wrapped in brown paper, with no return address. Inside was a single key and a note written in Claire's handwriting. "Nate, this is the key to the safe deposit box where I kept copies of everything. Bank of America, downtown, box 1247. I know you'll never forgive me, but maybe someday Lily will understand that I never meant to hurt her. The door you walked through led you to a better life. I hope someday I can find my own door to something better. Claire." I held the key for a long moment, thinking about doors and choices and the weight of consequences. Then I put it in my desk drawer and went back to work. Some doors are meant to stay closed,